It's a good idea to build a sense of duty around training. Being mindful and having some connection to the movement outside of the gym environment and setting an intention with each movement can make you feel a little more connected to the whole process. So being fit shouldn't be about having shredded abs or massive shoulders, although there's nothing wrong with those. What it should be about is being strong and capable in times of need. Now, I'm not talking about big, massive, earth-shattering times of need, but more everyday things like helping your friends move without throwing out your back, going for a hike without feeling destroyed for a few days after, or putting your luggage in the overhead compartment on an airplane without assistance. My name is Andrew. I'm a personal trainer and movement coach based in Toronto, and I help men and women over 35 reconnect with their bodies through movement skills that mirror real life. So looking at fitness training as a series of skill acquisitions and putting it in a functional context can just make you feel a little more connected to the whole process. Now, there's obvious benefits to training, and I think most of us are pretty aware of them. You get stronger, and things just become a little bit easier in your everyday life. Your cardio goes up, and your ability to exert yourself for prolonged periods goes up. You can hike further, you can walk up the stairs without getting out of breath, and so on. If you become more mobile, you won't throw your back out tying your shoes. So there's pretty obvious benefits to fitness training that are built into the fact that you are moving your body, often under load, and in ways that go outside of the demands of your everyday life. But treating fitness training as a set of skills allows you to learn movements and apply them to everyday life. It will make you more capable in times of need. Slowing down and spending time in each session and becoming a little more mindful about the movements that you're learning will allow you to connect with your body and be able to move with intention. And when you do ramp up the intensity, you'll have a little bit more of an idea of how to perform the movement efficiently and with function in mind. So with the kettlebell swing, for example, you're building power in the hips, in the hamstrings, you're building core strength, you're building grip strength, and your shoulders are working just by virtue of holding the kettlebell. So there's all this muscular development that's happening, and that's all very beneficial, and it's all good in and of itself. But what you're also doing is learning to selectively tense the muscles in a way that can be applicable in situations outside of just doing a kettlebell swing. If you're an athlete doing a kettlebell swing, it might actually help you to run faster and become more explosive and to become generally more athletic. But at the same time, that selective tension of the muscles, the loading up of the hips, and then immediately slingshotting back repeatedly has carryover into other areas of life. Now, I live in Canada, and in the winter, we often have to shovel snow. And I think that my use of tools like kettlebells has had a lot of carryover in that being able to selectively tense the muscles, pick up the snow, generate power, throw the snow, and then kind of relax and get back into position and do it over and over again. Kettlebells have definitely helped, whether through swings or snatches or cleans, being selective where you're putting the tension in your muscles and being able to bring it back to a state of pseudo-relaxation. Now, take something like a box jump, which is a very popular exercise, especially in fitness classes. Slowing it down and focusing on the landing can be beneficial when you start learning to jump, because the landing is where most jumping injuries occur. And once you're comfortable with the mechanics of the movement, you can ramp up the intensity knowing that you're performing it as safely as you can. And to put it in a functional context, a box jump is essentially learning to scale an object quickly. I think that can often get overlooked because we're often using box jumps in these workouts to try to sweat and try to ramp up our conditioning. But in a functional context, it comes in handy as well. Maybe you're out on a hike and you have to jump between rocks as you're crossing a stream or something like that. So putting an exercise into context gives us a little bit of an anchor point to just kind of constantly return to keep us grounded and to keep us focused on what we're training for. Because training is ultimately about being capable in times of need. You hope you aren't called upon to use some of these skills, but you want to know that you're capable just in case something happens. The last thing you want is if you're out on a hike and somebody hurts themselves and maybe they can't walk back to the head of the trail and you and the other people in your party are unable to help. So I think it's always grounding our training in this kind of pursuit of skill acquisition that can keep us really grounded and very intentional with how we program our movements. The last example I'll give is something like a Turkish get-up. I think it's an incredible exercise, and it gives you a series of positions to move through should you find yourself on the ground. It gives you these steps that you can move through to get yourself back up to standing. And ideally, you do it under load, which raises your capacity to do it without load. So if you fall on the ground, you can take yourself through each of these steps of the Turkish get-up to return to standing. It really helps develop your core, develops your shoulder stability, and I think you'd be hard-pressed to find another exercise that trains a skill that becomes more and more useful as we age, as getting up off the ground. Because as a lot of us know, falls become a lot more likely as we age, so having a way to get back up just makes sense. And we want to make sure that we maintain our ability to get up and down from the ground because we want to offset the risk of hurting ourselves or at least being stuck if we do find ourselves on the ground. So with all that in mind, it's a good idea to build a sense of duty around training. Showing up, being mindful and having some connection to the movement outside of the gym environment and setting an intention with each movement can make you feel a little more connected to the whole process. And at the end of the day, I think fitness training is about building connection with the world around you. You can go explore a little more when you feel more physically capable. You can connect with others, both through having experiences like going on long hikes or long walks, or even in a sports context if someone says, hey, let's go play frisbee or play hockey or basketball or whatever. I think at the end of the day, it's all about connection and trying to connect with the world around you and the people around you. So that's the video for today. If you liked what I had to say, it would be great to hear from you in the comments below. And if you want to build a body that's functional and ready for anything and build the skills that carry over into everyday life, subscribe to this channel because that's exactly what I built this channel around. I'll see you next time.